Okay, in this blog we're going to have a look at some general advice for part 3. A lot of this is obvious and you're probably doing already, but I think it's quite nice to have a list and have someone say it to you just in case there's one or two bits you're not aware of. So first of all, relax. They're not looking for the finished product. They just want you to show potential to become a good instructor. So that means you know your stuff, you know what's required, and you can carry it out most of the time. Make a mistake, just move on. They're not looking for grade A's as it would be now or grade 6's in the past. They're looking for someone who shows the ability. And if you've been watching my videos, for example, then you will have that knowledge and you will know what they require. Get a good night's sleep. Again, obvious, but try and do that, particularly if it's an early test. Take a bottle of water with you. You will need to drink that between phase 1 and phase 2, so do take that with you. The last thing you want to do is dry up because it's mainly a talking exercise. Make sure your car is insured for part 3. If you're taking your own car, then normal insurance won't cover that, and if you've got insurance for any driver, it still wouldn't cover it because you're being tested and that person's conducting a test. So there are insurance companies that will do that for you, and it's about £40 for the day, and you don't need the driver's name or anything like that. If you're going with the instructor's car, then they should be insured for purpose. Again, obvious, but have a clean car with nothing on the back seat. You don't want to get the emergency stop and then get hit in the back of the head by a bottle, or the bottle roll under the seat, under the pedals, which has happened. I've seen that happen before on an out test, but I'm sure it could happen on a part 3. It's a nice clean back seat, and you may get a supervised and examiner sitting in the back as well. So you want it to be free. If you've got any notes and things you want, then you can put them in the boot, or you can put them down behind the back seat or in the seat pockets to your sides or behind the seats. Okay. Have some L plates on the car, one in front, one in the back. That's sort of obvious, but you need that. If they won't come off, then that won't matter for part 2. You can just leave them on. They don't need to cover them up or anything. If they're magnetic ones, please have a spare, because if you go off and do overtaking on a dual carriageway and you get one fly over your head, you will be expected to replace them. So do have a spare set if they're magnetic. If they're stuck on, you should be okay, I would have thought. If the car's a rear head restraint, or it has places for rear head restraints, sometimes it's got the holes, etc., then they should be fitted, at least one in the back. And if your instructor's going to sit there as well, then one for him and another one just in case, again, the supervised and examiner comes along. It doesn't happen very often, but we know what Sod's Law is, don't we? So have that head restraint there, because if it's not there and it should be there, they could, in theory, refuse to come out. If they're not there anyway and there's no holes for them, then obviously you can't put them on. Arrive about 30 minutes early, just in case that accident happened, or you get lost, or you need to lose 17 times or whatever. So make sure you're there nice and early, but don't park in the test centre, because that annoys the examiners, and you can get in the way of our tests and things like that. So you don't want to do that. And park into the test centre around 5 to 10 minutes before. Again, it's sort of obvious, but I've seen it loads of times. Park somewhere where the novice driver can get out of. My test centre in Southampton, there's a space. I won't try and explain it, but you basically park in it and you can't get the angle to come out and turn left because there's a pavement in the way, or a raised area plus the building. And if you've got an examiner that's going off to turn the road, they're going to be shuffling backwards and forwards, and I've actually seen it abandoned there before because they couldn't get the examiner out of the parking space. So make sure it's quite straightforward and easy for the person to get out, and obviously reversing into the space. Pop into the test centre a few minutes before, go for a wee. Obvious, but even if you don't need one, go for one, because you will need one 3/4 of the way round, halfway around, particularly if you're drinking that water or that bottle of Lucozade, which I saw someone drink once, which wasn't ideal. So just go use the facilities. I haven't said it yet, but also make sure you've got your licence with you. Just one part now, don't need the second part, they won't ask for it, that's already checked online, because the second part isn't a legal requirement anymore, just in case you didn't know that. Tell the examiner if it's your last go because of the 2 years are up. They know it's your third go, for example, but let's say it's your second go, but your 2 years are up and you're over your 2 years, then it's worth telling them. I've certainly had examiners failed someone and say, why didn't you tell me it was your 2 years are up? It shouldn't make a difference, but maybe it does. Otherwise we wonder why they say that. So look, make sure you just let them know. It's worth knowing as well, if it's your second attempt, let's say for the sake of argument, and your 2 years are up 2 days later, and you were to fail, you can take the other attempt as long as you book it before the 2 years are up. So I had this situation literally last week where a PDI that came to me after this event failed, had 3 days to go, I think, until his 2 years were up. Told the examiner said, you should have told me, which is what I'm telling you. And then the examiner said, well, you can't, you have to start again now because you won't get in one in the next 3 days. That's not correct. He got on the internet, booked one the next day for about 6 weeks later, and he's taking that one in a few weeks. So that's not a problem at all. Look to see which PST you have when you sign. That way you can just prepare yourself. You're just ready to go out. You can get your file out the back. A lot of people have a separate file for each PST. It's up to you, whatever system you're using. But at least you can sort yourself out while the examiner's just making sure your number plates match and your wheels are on each corner and that type of thing. And that just settles you down a little bit. Listen to which side of the car that you should sit in. You know, PST 1 and 2, you'll be in the driver's seat, the rest you'll be in the passenger seat. But listen, because I've seen it so many times, you can say, right, I'd like you to get in the passenger seat. We go outside and the PDI's in the driver's seat. You know, your brain's going to be all over the place, isn't it? So just be aware of that. If the car has dual controls, let the pupil, i.e. the examiner, know. Particularly if you're doing PST 1 and 2, you need to tell them, because they will be pressing the dual controls. That'll be covered in more blogs when we go into separate subjects in a bit more detail. At the end of the phase 1, forget it and move on. Drink your water. Reflect a little bit, thinking, my Q&A wasn't great there, I'm going to show him how good my Q&A is on phase 2. Control wasn't brilliant, so on the phase 2 I'm going to control at the right times, and we'll talk about that on other blogs that are going to come up in the next few weeks. Reflect on it quickly, 30 seconds, try and put those things right on the phase 2, because they will still be looking for them. Okay, and if you do fail, have a cry, self-reflect, have a look at what you could have done, should have done, more practice, more knowledge, etc., etc., and then put it right next, what went wrong next time. You've got 3 attempts, it's your 3rd attempt, so you'll need to start again. But, you know, go away, spend 12 hours, 24 hours not thinking about it, and then reflect on it, go through it with your trainer. Give me a call if you're not with your trainer or you want to call me. I'm more than happy to go through a part 3 with you, and we can see what we can do to sort that out. Okay, thank you.